Now the next thing to do is to weld this plate on perfectly at 90 degrees, perfectly centered. And I'm going to do the same. That's the front bit done. Just showing you how it fits in there. And those two top bolts can be adjusted to move the spindle up and down, which will also work to adjust the chain and keep it nice and tight. So what I've got to do now is, this is the back one. So the plate's going to be welded on the top here in exactly the same way as that one is. Facing, so it will be facing like this, outwards. Sweet. In the last video I mentioned how thin the wires were, but they're not actually as bad as I thought, because they're the three-phase wires and they're the hall sensor wires. So yeah, they're not too bad. Not massive, but better than I thought. Peace. Oh yeah, I cut the wires off because this has to go on over there. So I had to take the wires off. So that was quite a lot of work to make the motor mount. But next time I've got to do it, I'll be a lot quicker. But anyway, the main thing is that those bolts are going to work fine to adjust the motor. It may not be in. Don't send me a comment saying it's not, the spindle isn't perfectly level, because that's the whole idea of making those things. This is the idea I've had for the frame. This is some nice 20mm bar doodly. Yep, 20mm or thereabouts. So I had to do a bit of cleaning up, but you can see the layout starting to come together for the frame. That's the front. Remember, it's upside down. That's going to be the back. That's where the front blade will stick out. This is the very front of the turbine. Well, I'm just going to get these welded up. That is officially past the point of no return. The frame has been birthed. Let's undo the clamps. We got a little bit welded to the plastic, but yeah, looking good. Just gonna get the tripod. So that's how I think it's gonna be. Just got it up on these blocks. That bearing there with the tail offset. I may have to end up putting a heavy weight under the back here, because it's going to have a large amount of top forwardness, which isn't a problem. The other thing that I'll have to do when I put the the pipe for the tower here, this is going to have to be up 5 degrees. So the tower pipe will be vertical and this will be up 5 degrees. Yeah, so this will be elevated a little bit, take it more into the wind and offset the frontal load weight. Aye, but that's progress. You know, I said I wasn't going to weld these on. Well, I probably will. This plate's got to go on. I'm just going to spend half an hour thinking about exactly where I want it down here. But it's looking pretty good so far, I think. Got one of the bolts in, and let's give you the exact size. 79.5. That isn't welded on or anything yet. That may go on as a weight, and the shaft's 970. They're all bolted on, nice and cushy. So yeah, that's quite a lot of progress. It doesn't look like it, but that's quite a lot of work there. Designing those two things, fitting them to the front and the back, making sure the motor can all be adjusted. They're as close to 90 degrees as they need to be. What I want to say about the good thing about these things here, how I've done it with the hole in the middle, I won't even need a bolt on there to hold them if I don't want to, because this plate will stop it from falling down. So yeah, that's quite a lot of good progress. And if I need to take the shaft off, then obviously I can do it via the bolts. This isn't tightened up yet, so the shaft moves back and forward. So a quick check on what I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for the 20mm tube to fit over here, which will then be welded onto the blade holders. That'll probably be a Tuesday, and I'm waiting for the sprockets, one of which is going to go on here, and then one of which is going to go down there. That's going to be a bit tricky bolting all that on, but I will get it done. And it will be cushy. It's hard to turn. It's definitely going to take some effort to turn it, which is why it needs 2 sets of blades. So yeah, but it's definitely coming on. I'd say at the moment it weighs about 20 kilos. Somewhere between 18 and 20 without the blades on. So yeah, big up. I've got some weights on the back end of it, keeping it from tipping over. I just wanted to show you it from the underside. Also, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my tripod and show you quickly how I use these things to drop the motor out. And they'll also be used to tighten a chain, because there's some fair bit of movement here up and down. So I'd say probably all in all you've got about 1.5 inches of movement up and down, so that'll enable me to get the chain in and get everything tightened up properly. Sweet! So first we've got to take the bolt off the front. And don't worry, the motor's not going to fall out, because that's the whole idea of the bolts. Gotta watch the dodgy wiring on the back end. That's the next job, to get some heat shrink. So now I just need a 17mm spanner. Let's do the front ones, and then because of the light you should be able to see it better. Put those bolts somewhere safe. And a 17mm spanner. Same again round the back. Oh, you can feel it start dropping down. Oh. There. And I'm just going to take the weight of the motor on my hand. And there, off comes the motor. That's the back. Sorry, that's the back. And that's the front. I'll carefully put that down. And yeah, so that's how that works. I suppose you can see it better now, there's nothing in there. But yeah, feels pretty good. You see, more chunky than I thought it was going to be. I was going to sort of thought about making the frame out of some smaller metal, but I found those and they're 20mm, so that's good. And now the bearings are bolted on, I can take them out whenever I want to. So yep, there's the motor. See if I can find some heat shrink, get that sorted. Sorry, I think it's also important to stress quickly that this is all made from stuff I had lying around. I am going to clean it up and paint it. So if you're thinking, God damn, look at that rusty pile of crap, for me it's all about excuse me, using what I have. And the only thing I actually bought that you can see here are the 2 bearings. Everything else I had. So yeah, that's sweet. I'm going to put the motor in again, put the motor back in, just to show you what that entails, and that is probably a bit of a mission, but we shall see how long it takes. So you can see that middle slot there, that's the one that the bolt fits in. 45, let's call it 45 mil, about 1 3/4 inches, and the bolt is 15 mil, the widest bit, so that gives us a good bit of adjustment up and down to get everything nice and tight. This will be more difficult with the chain. Putting the turbine in, it will be a bit of a kerfuffle, but that's all good. It'll only take 5 minutes each time to take it out, and the only time I'd want to be taking it out is to put a different size gear on it, so it's not like I'm going to be doing it that often. But that is going to be one of the best things about this, that I can put different size gear sprockets on, and they're going to join there. Okay, so I could have, for example, a larger sprocket on here, say 20 tooth on here, and then a 12 tooth on the top, and that'll make it a hell of a lot easier to turn. So I'm going to be able to adjust it for whatever wind conditions going on. Right, I'm just going to get the back plate on and ready. Get bolts ready. One last thing. It's worth noticing that I've taken all the bolts off. I don't know if you can see. Taken all the bolts and spaces off. Ugh. This would have been a lot easier if I'd actually left the bolts on, because that front end's going all the way through. I knew that'd be a bit of a mission, but like I said, I didn't help by taking the bolts off. One more bolt. So there. That's how long it takes to take the motor off and put it back in. Now, of course, we'll just put a bolt on either end, loosely. Of course, the back bolt has to go through the wires. Over the heat shrink. It's quite fiddly, but I've got enough space to, easy enough space to get a spanner under here and in here. No problem, the blades will go on after. Now, this bolt needs tightening up to bring that side up a little bit, so I can do that. It's nice and easy once you've got it in there. No problemo. Let me tighten the top one down. Just give me a little tickle. Same at the back. Spanner, 10mm bolt. The holes, I've learnt that when you're doing stuff where stuff's got to line up, I usually make the holes a little bit bigger. I don't know if that's cheating. Wicked. And of course, if these are just finger tight, because the whole point of the system is that it's these things, it's these bolts here and this that's welded on here that provides the strength. If we look at it from the side, we can see it's in quite level, but before I fly it, I'll just spend 5 minutes looking at it and adjusting these bolts, if I have to. Yeah, it's not too bad. It looks like it might be off by about 1 degree that way, but it shouldn't really matter. I think it's going to be fine. So yeah, that's that. Even if I had to widen, you see the middle channel in the back that it comes up, even if I had to widen that so I could move this over a tiny bit, but it will be fine. But yeah, that's how the motor comes off and goes back on. Theoretically, that means it would work with any type of motor if it's the similar size spindle. I'm not sure. You could put a rear one in there with the gears, but it would be pretty tight. So anyway, I mean, this is the only motor I have, so I've not built it specifically. I've built it specifically for this motor, but yeah, you could easily use it with other motors. You can actually see the holes there, which are designed for the brake disc, which is what I'm going to connect the sprocket to. So yeah, it's coming on. It's quite a lot of work there. Probably doesn't look like it, but yeah, it's quite a lot of work there so far. Peace.